Missions Pulse. Know God's heart, join his mission.
There's heated debates right now about gender issues, gender equality, and yet women are stepping up to the plate. Why? Where are the guys?
I think they're playing.
Playing?
I think they're still
Baseball?
playing with their toys.
Baseball cards?
Yeah,
toys,
maybe.
G.I. Joes?
Yeah. I don't know if I have all the answers. It's a big issue. There's a lot of people in the world.
I came here for the answers,
Yeah.
buddy.
I've been trying to sort it out because something we see not just in global missions, that for sure, especially living here in Asia, but also like within YWAM in our training, we train a lot of people, and not all those people stay in missions,
Sure.
But a lot do for short term or long term. But we train a lot of people, and that's something we offer to the body of Christ, and it's one of our primary callings to do. And of course, that training can translate into field work and new ministry being birthed. But something we see consistently in the training, such as the discipleship training school, most people know YWAM for that at least, is that there's by and large always more females, more women than men.
If I was to see a photo, well, I shouldn't say I'm a married guy. If I was a young single guy and I see that there's 85% women, wouldn't that be at least some sort of draw?
Yeah. It goes back to your to some of the puns we have with the
young wolves after mating.
That's right.
Where are the wolves?
Yeah, young. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And it's not that people participate in these programs for that reason.
Absolutely,
but
sure.
Everybody's young and they are interested to carry on with their life and see what God has for them. That includes relationships.
But the guys are not coming even to those DTSs.
What we see globally with kind of like the makeup of demographics between the ages and the gender in different places as far as singles, we see that almost mirrored in our training, which means it just seems to me across the board from my experience, because I'm not a statistician, but from my experience over a long swath of time, the men are missing, particularly the single men. We've got a lot of families and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
And married couples, but a lot of single men are off somewhere doing something besides maybe what they are called to do. And, not everybody, but
sure.
But,
no.
This can't be, just the calling of single women and married couples and a few sprinkling of guys. This
you
has
say they're
to be
playing.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well,
you said that pretty quickly. So like,
yeah, I have some pretty strong perspective and opinions on this. And I think if I'm talking to the young men and the single men of the world, I'm not going to pull any punches in that. And I just feel like I think men, as a group of people that I'm a part of, so we struggle with growing up. I think of Peter Pan being very relevant. I love Peter Pan. I was infatuated with that movie, and then the movie Hook came out. Also, and it's like it's this kind of adventure, but at the same time, it never wants to grow up. Never wants to leave Neverland and kind of step into the real world. And then it's interesting contrast. I'm just thinking of this right now. Wendy, as the older sister, is like the caretaker. She's really responsible. She's, spending time, with her younger brothers in the nursery or whatever. But it's interesting, that contrast between, she believes in this Neverland and this adventure and wants to participate, but she also has one foot in the real world, even taking care of her little brothers in the nursery, And then you've got Peter Pan, who's, he can fly and he can do all these amazing things, but he's kind of off in this, alien
Neverland.
place, Neverland,
Yeah.
and where, how is he impacting what's going on down on Earth here, right? And so I don't know. I just see, across the board in society, particularly in the West, but I would say I see it in Asia too, where men, they end up getting a job or whatever, but they spend all their free time still playing. And I've had a number of friends, groomsmen in my wedding, it just felt like they never quite grew up. And I'm not sitting here like, well, I'm better than them and I grew up and look at me. I feel for them like what they're missing. Because that kind of step of faith, which it really is, to say, I don't feel ready to take on these responsibilities or to take the world by storm. I don't feel ready to go into kind of this missions battle, the spiritual battle. But, I think God's telling me something about that, so I'm going to pursue that and see where it is.
But when you talk about that, when you talk about missions, to me, it is the adventure. And if that's what we're talking about, if we're Peter Pan and we want to fly and go save the world and, isn't that the adventure? Have we painted the picture of missions in a way that's it's not correct? Or people come on short-term trips and think, this is not the adventure I thought it was.
Yeah, I think, there's a danger of playing up the adventure side too far,
Sure.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a great thing for getting people exposed to it and things. But like you mentioned and you quoted, it's the consistent single direction, the endurance factor, which is not always pleasant. I think a lot of people go in the military for the same reason, the sense of adventure. I'm going to get to do this and get to do that. And then the reality of boot camp hits and the monotony of like guard duty or whatever, KP patrol or whatever, and those are real too. And you're spending your time, but those are all towards a common goal. Those are all necessary, and they do lead to, some of those adventures, some of those meaningful accomplishments that a lot of people, see in the military, or at least that's why they join. And so I think, there's a sense, I know that a lot of men put off marriage a little bit and resist that commitment. And, some of us could take you could say, well, they're just, lazy and deadbeats. But I think it's a little deeper than that. I think there's a genuine doubt, am I going to be good enough? Am I going to live up to this responsibility? Am I ready? And I think that those issues that maybe happen in the normal life of a single guy or a guy, starting in a relationship, I think those carry over into all aspects of his life, including what he would do in the future.
It's like a microcosm. Peter Pan's the microcosm, or his self-doubt, perhaps, or even identity crisis, you could call it, maybe, is a microcosm of a bigger picture.
Yeah.
Can I commit? Can I succeed? What is success? I mean, I find it, I've been on the field for over 20 years. Am I successful? Some people on Facebook think I am. My Instagram posts are hot.
Yeah.
But in the depth of my heart, am I really successful? Is this the adventure that God has made me for? Of course, I still question that. But there's something that's got to draw a young man into the bigger picture of God. It might not be excitement nonstop, We don't have to. Amy Carmichael talks about this a lot. 20th century missionary to India, and she talked a lot about honesty in missions and not painting a picture that is not relevant.
Yeah.
Oh, there were thousands who came to the Lord, and this is excitement. Yeah. No, it could be drudgery at times, living cross-culturally. Absolutely. But it is a small part of the big picture that God is doing.
Yeah. I mean, I think, for me, it kind of boils down to, what's the point of the gospel and life with God? He's all about the kingdom. He's talking about the kingdom, expansion of kingdom, taking territory. And we're talking about both physical and spiritual territory. I think that's something that should attract men to the mission.
Masculine.
And it's not, and of course it should feel that way. And it's, the point is God gets the glory, right?
Yes.
We all need the Lord. He has the best life for us in every way, no matter what our career is, no matter what our pursuit is, doing it His way. Following His way through love and through some of the best practice of wisdom that He gives through His word, those things bear the most fruit in our life for His kingdom, but also fulfill us. They give us that sense of adventure. I mean, you read stuff that Jesus did, and if you think about it for more than 2 seconds, you're like, these guys were crazy, particularly after Jesus left and missions really started. These guys were crazy, I keep meeting people in Chiang Mai with the last name Thomas, right? From India. They're from India, and their last name is Thomas.
Where Thomas, the disciple, is supposed to have passed away.
And it's pretty amazing, when we stop and think about all the challenges you'd have to go from where they were over to India.
That's some distance.
That was
not a 48-hour bus ride.
No, a little bit longer.
Or a sleeper bus.
A little bit more dangerous and more drudgery than even 48 hours. And so, it's just, but I think the core is like, what did God create me for? How does He want to use me? And, it is about letting the Lord be the conqueror of our hearts, but also of places where there's injustice, places where there's inequality, and there's no hope, basically. Yeah. There's no hope. And we're not coming in with an arrogance to say, well, you got to believe like we believe, right? The whole point is like, we have experienced a deep hope and an enlivening of our spirits, and we want to just pass that on, and the Lord mandates it. And so, you better buckle up if that's what you're going to try to do in any random place around the world. Particularly
fallback. Well, and we're not talking about misogyny here. We're not talking about, but there is some strength or some unique factor in the masculine voice against injustice.
Yeah,
women are taking it on head on. Again, going back to Amy Carmichael.
Yeah.
She spearheaded Donovan Home for Children in India. She single-handedly, in many ways, she pioneered this outreach that transformed the world.
Right.
Coming on the heels of, let's say, William Carey, father of modern missions. And so her voice was tremendous. Her writing, her books, she wrote 33 books in her life before she died. Wow. And she was bedridden for 10 years before she died. But there is some strength in the masculine voice standing against injustice. Yeah. It's not misogyny. It's not sexism, right? But it's a righteous deviance from normative lifestyle.
Missions Pulse. Know God's heart, join His mission. This podcast is powered by Within Reach Global. Subscribe, watch, and listen on YouTube today. Visit missionspulse.com.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed that video, leave a comment below. Tell me what you thought. Also, you might want to check out this video here, and honestly, that one's not bad either. Make sure you subscribe to Missions Pulse by clicking the subscribe button right here, and also click that little bell button so you get notified every single time we post a new video.